The Inteyvat. Interesting little flower, ain't it? Despite being with us from the beginning, it plays a deceptively large role concerning our fellow travelers, and it works as such. Where does the Inteyvat flower come from? Because right now, it seems like we have two different answers. The first is it comes from the travelers' homelands, and this was just said to us in the Anne of Narcissencroix side quest, where we had this interaction with Marianne, where Marianne remarks, quote, "You're from a very, very far away place, aren't you? Well, what sort of flowers bloom there?" Then you either, describe the flowers in your hair if you're playing Lumine, or in Lumine's hair if you're playing Ether, and she responds, "Those do sound like lovely flowers," or "I thought those flowers were beautiful the moment I saw you," and your final response is, "But I fear that they'll be hard to find now." Now, the other candidates for the home of the Inteyvats is Khanriah, given it's their national flower and once bloomed all over the nation.
It is the national flower of Khanriah, the Inteyvat. It once bloomed all over the nation. It would only last 2 weeks before wilting. But if you were to pluck one and take it out of Khanriah, the petals would stop growing and turn hard. Only when it finally returned to its home soil would the petals grow soft once more, and finally turn to dust. So the Inteyvat is a symbol for a wanderer far from home, signifying the tenderness of the homeland.
And now what's very interesting about this scene is the shift in dialogue you get depending on whether you pick Lumine or Ether to be your traveler. Pick Ether, and the line choice reads, quotes, "That's the flower my sister was wearing in her hair." Pick Lumine, and it changes to, quotes, "That's the flower I've been wearing in my hair since I woke up." Now, this could just be me overthinking it, but I find it's terribly odd how unfamiliar they sound with a flower that supposedly comes from their homelands. That's the flower I've been wearing in my hair since I woke up. If this flower truly came from their now destroyed homeland, then surely, it'd be a fucking miracle when you come across something you haven't seen in centuries, if not thousands of years. You'd be ecstatic, a familiar sight in an unfamiliar land. Yet instead, it's just, it's that flower again, or that's that flower my sister wears. That's it. That's all you're giving us? What I find even more concerning is Lumine's dialogue choice. Her saying it's the flower that's been in her hair since she woke up makes it sound as if she's never come across this flower before, and that Ether seemingly placed a random flower in her hair when they came to this world. But again, if this flower truly came from their homeland, it really should sound a lot more familiar than that. Now, just because I'm going at the fact that the flower coming from the siblings' homeland seems off, given how they address the flower, that does not mean it now de facto comes from Khanriah, given there's some bullshit going on there too. The most defining feature of Khanriah is the fact that it was an underground nation. No sunlight. It's due to the subterranean nature that the art of Khaenriah came to be, so as to provide Khanriah with the flora and fauna it was so dearly lacking. And now, given the Inteyvat is a flower, fucking photosynthesis, and it could simply be it was created by someone at the starts of Khanriah, or at any point in Khanriah's history, to simply spruce the place up a bit. I mean, hell, we know the Inteyvat has properties unique to Khanriah. First and foremost, it grows there. Second, it lasts 2 weeks before wilting, but if you remove them, they will grow hard. Return them to Khanriah, however, and they will eventually wilt and turn to dust. And while that answer does indeed sound likely, it could be that the Inteyvat is from Khanriah, there's a problem. 3, actually. The first is the final scene of the chapter preview, showcasing a sea of Inteyvat's flowers.
Your journey has reached its end, but one final doorway remains. Step forth if you have understood the meaning of your journey. Defeat me, command me to step aside. Show me that you are worthier than I to rescue her. Then, the threads of all fate will be yours to reweave.
This cannot be Khanriah, given there's a sky. The second issue is Khanriah, as we know, was long obsessed with the search for beings who could transcend the gods, otherwise known as Descenders. And finally, the biggest problem is Rhinedottir's existence, the greatest alchemist to ever live, one who mastered the art of Khaenriah and who Alice dubbed a flower not from this world. The reason, because if there's a flower that doesn't exist yet, Rhinedottir could simply create it.
A flower that is not of this world signifies, of course, flowers that do not naturally exist in this world. This is the signature of our full name, Rhinedottir, also known as Gold. If there's anyone in this world who could create a flower species that does not yet exist, it would be her.
And if we're being honest, Rhinedottir can create much more than a flower. She created a whole fucking dragon. Yes, Alice chose flowers. Let's try and connect these last 2 points. Given we know for ages Khanriah long sought descenders, could it be then the reason the Inteyvat even exists in Khanriah in the first place is because they did in fact originate from the travelers' homelands, and before Khanriah summoned the twins to Teyvat, they decided to have Rhinedottir create the flower from their homeland so as to make them feel more comfortable. Big claim, you know, not much to go on, but it's a big claim, so let's explore. First and foremost, for this claim to be true, we need to establish that the Khanrians knew of the twins long before they were actually summoned here. That's impossible to do right now. Does it just fall apart then? Well, instead what we can do is look at a quote from an institution within Khanriah, the Universitas Magistrorum, by which they spoke these words to King Ermin. Quote, "O almighty sovereign, the Universitas Magistrorum has provided the predictions you requested. The 2 stars have been captured by the world's gravity. After a lengthy orbital period, today their paths shall intertwine once more." Now, we've often seen the twins referred to as stars, given they don't come from this world, be it in the first cutscene of the game 3 years ago, or the most recent animation less than a week ago, so it does very much sound like the 2 stars the Universitas Magistrorum were tracking were indeed Ether and Lumine. Furthermore, by the sounds of it, they had been tracking them for quite a while, given they were able to provide accurate predictions regarding their movements to King Ermin. Within Khanriah itself, we know the siblings were revered. Or I say siblings, but you know what I mean.
Oh, of course you haven't. With your status, you can hardly be expected to know all of us. To us, you were the Abyss. A wondrous mystery far beyond our imagination and comprehension. And the one who controls the Abyss can control everything. We yearned for that future. We looked to you to take us there. But what did you bring us instead? Oh, Princess of Khanriah.
Now, whether this was simply because they were a descender, their actual identity, or both, is unknown, but it does indeed seem like the twins were on Khanriah's minds for quite a while. However, it's here another problem erects itself. And it's we don't know how long they were on Khanriah's radar for. This is a problem because we know the twins were bouncing around different worlds before winding up in Teyvat, and this was because their homeland was destroyed. Quote, "Don't lose faith in that which you have lost. In this new world, you will never be alone. Where you leave your footprints and where you have yet to stride, your new world will unfold before you. Welcome to a new world." So how then if Khanriah created the Inteyvat Flower as a means to make the traveler feel more at home when they arrive to Khanriah? Could they have even known it existed, barring they were somehow aware of the Inteyvats on the destroyed planets? We also need to remember that the flower couldn't have just been made in the run-up right before their fucking arrival, given it was the national flower of Khanriah and existed long enough to harbor meaning to its people. So where does this leave us with regards to the claim? You know, about nowhere. I mean, barring Khanriah was tracking the siblings for hundreds, if not thousands of years, which is... I mean, look, I get it, you think you're being shackled, but that's just fucking weird. That is weird behavior. I'm not exactly sure. Although it could just simply be the Inteyvat blooms in a lot of different places, including different worlds, which wouldn't that be quite the fucking reveal? Just no grand mystery, just grows on a bunch of different planets, except Teyvat, where instead it grows in a spot where the sun doesn't shine. Yeah, this is a conspiracy here, huh? You got me fucked up, nigga. There are other oddities with the flower. I mean, it's weird the only known locations of the flowers are now destroyed. That cannot be a coincidence. And I did just want to bring up the sinner's words once more, given he also references a pure flower.
"You are like a flower, born in sin, yet pure, spotless. I know your fate well."
Now, he used it as a metaphor, so I can't exactly fucking make anything up its butts. I did just want to replay that clip one more time so that it's in the back of your mind, sitting there, and you're mulling over it when Dain's quest rears its head in just a couple days.